Chapter 282, Tang Sect Supreme, What a Fury Tang Lotus, TL by Bagelson. Tang San moved very quickly. The instant he moved, he seemed to completely stick to the ground in front of him. Adding that Helena stepped forward to meet him, Bibi Dong basically didn't even clearly see this sudden change. Her mental strength was severely injured, and still far from recovered, making her unable to control the situation as in the past. Bibi Dong noticed Tang San's attack only once he was right by Helena. Too late to help. With Helena's strength, even though she was still a well-known figure of her generation, she couldn't compare to Tang San, let alone like this when she basically didn't even resist. Just as she almost disappeared from this world by Tang San's hand, suddenly, Tang San's seemingly incomparably fast left hand abruptly rose, changing from a strike to a grab. Helena only felt her shoulder sting, and her entire right shoulder was grabbed by Tang San's scorching hot hand. The stinging feeling instantly spread through her whole body, making her feel paralyzed as she was flung aside like a soaring cloud. Under the control of Tang San's controlling crane-catching dragon, she was thrown several dozen meters away. Tang San's movements were completely fluent. At the same time as he flung aside Helena with his left hand, his right hand swung the sea god trident, shooting a semicircular golden light straight at Bibi Dong. The giant trident blades this instant turned translucent as if carved from crystal, and with only a flash, it had reached Bibi Dong's head. Bibi Dong of course wouldn't wait helplessly. No matter what was said, she was still a peak-level title Douluo. That spiderweb pattern on her forehead abruptly brightened. At the same time as she retreated explosively, her death domain was already started, not only enveloping Tang San, but all the Heaven Door Empire powers on top of the walls. Tang San naturally wouldn't let her easily get her way. It would of course have been extremely difficult for him to answer Bibi Dong under ordinary circumstances, but right now Bibi Dong's mind was injured. Her abilities reduced overall. He naturally didn't need to worry. The blue-silver domain instantly spread out, the power of the domain colliding head-on with Bibi Dong's. Only the two parties themselves could truly feel the circumstances of the collision. Even if this wasn't a mental energy collision, it was still a mutual collision of spirits, and would equally involve a portion of mental strength. Tang San's sea god trident stretched forward. At the same time as it chased Bibi Dong, the domain collision was already finished. Tang San slowed slightly, while Bibi Dong gave a muffled grunt, her brows knitting in pain, her whole body leaning back slightly. With a shake, she had released the Death Spider Emperor's 8th Spirit ability Spirit Clone. The main body and clone simultaneously dodged to either side, just avoiding Tang San's sea god trident. At the same time she advanced rather than retreat, using the spirit avatar that was released at the same time as the 8th spirit ability to stab towards Tang San with sharp spider legs. Tang San knew that the reason why Bibi Dong spared neither spirit power or mental strength and even released the spirit avatar just at the start of the battle was to deny him the chance to launch a mental attack on her. Her clone and main body were identical, and even with his level of mental strength it was very difficult to tell them apart. If he rashly used the purple demon eye attack and hit the clone, Bibi Dong would immediately seize the opportunity. Tang San would never underestimate the enemy, even if they were still convalescent. The battle wasn't over until the enemy was truly finished. Countless blue-silver emperor burst from the ground beneath Tang San's feet like blooming flowers, instantly spreading over to Bibi Dong. More than 100 blue-silver emperor enveloped her like a giant net. This was Tang San's reacquired first spirit ability, binding. Even though it was still a first spirit ability, after being updated to a 50,000-year spirit ring, the power of this ability had already reached a frightening level, not in any way inferior to common spirit master's 8th spirit ability. That giant blue-silver emperor not only enveloped a large area, but was also extremely tough. Even Sword Douluo's 7 kill sword would have a hard time destroying it, especially when it was melded together with a domain like this. Tang San's blue-silver domain and Bibi Dong's death domain collided with and offset each other. Neither could use their domain to resist the opponent. Just this bit revealed Bibi Dong's present weakness. Otherwise Tang San absolutely wouldn't be her match in domains. Light flashed, and Bibi Dong's purple color instantly switched to green. This was her supreme skill in switching over to her second spirit while in spirit avatar state. Not only did her shape change, but the color also turned from dark purple to deep green. The two front legs immediately turned into sharp sickles. The main body and clone instantly closed on each other, jade-like hazy light spreading all over her. A screen barrier of light instantly appeared in front of the two Bibi Dong. This wasn't any shield or defensive ability, but rather a mirage caused by Bibi Dong's second spirit soul-eating spider emperor's jade sickle cut. The soul-eating spider emperor was worthy of being Bibi Dong's second spirit. That jade sickle had almost taken Tang San's life once before, where the jade-colored light passed. Even though it couldn't cut the blue-silver emperor in one strike, it still completely blew them away. At the same time it also left behind a deep mark. All it took was two crosswise giant sickle slashes, and all the blue-silver emperor was instantly cut to pieces. At this moment Bibi Dong also roused her spirits. With Bibi Dong's worsening situation, plus the provocation of seeing Grandmaster, her fighting spirit was completely awoken. Without the slightest regard for her own mental state, she brought out her full battle strength. Tang San couldn't be called slow, but it was at the same time as he released the binding ability that Bibi Dong not only resisted his attack with the jade sickle, but at the same time also launched her own attack. Altogether 8 crescent blades of dark green light flew out of that jade screen, aimed straight at Tang San. Moreover, the target locations were even more crafty. Besides 3 crescent blades going straight for Tang San, the other 5 would all tangentially pass by him, sealing all Tang San's avenues for escape. She might not be Tang San's opponent in a mental collision anymore, but she could still defend herself if she was careful. After all, a rank 99 title Douluo had extremely deep resources. As long as she didn't give Tang San a chance to launch the purple demon eye, other mental attacks weren't enough to cause Bibi Dong any real harm. And in spirit power, Bibi Dong had already recovered. In the brief time given by overdrawing her mental strength, Bibi Dong would force Tang San into a contest of spirit power, using her own strong points to attack Tang San's weakness. Even those 8 crescent blades all suddenly paused, changed direction the moment they were about to hit Tang San, attacking him from 8 different directions. This change in direction definitely made it even more difficult for Tang San to resist. Absolutely don't look down on these crescent blades. These were all Bibi Dong's soul-eating spider emperor's first spirit ability. Half moon, also equal to a 50,000-year spirit ability. Shooting 8 in one go clearly showed the depth of Bibi Dong's spirit power. Faced with Bibi Dong's attack, Tang San was calm and unhurried. The sea god trident he held jabbed the ground, sending him soaring up. His left leg kicked out like a whirlwind, and in that instant, a rich red light erupted from Tang San's leg. You want to fight with spirit power? Fine, then let's fight. You use a black spirit ring, then counter with a red spirit bone. The instant he kicked, Tang San's eyes suddenly flashed, and the sea god trident's sea god heart also brightened. A faint golden halo of light practically instantly spread over a kilometer. On the battlefield of Jilin Pass, besides Tang San, were the Heaven Door Empire or the Spirit Empire's people. They all halted for a moment, instantly absent-minded. This was the soul-breaking effect from Tang San using the sea god trident. It instantly caused a mental shock. As long as they didn't have mental strength equal to Tang San's, they would be influenced. The effect didn't last long. That's why this was also called a mental shock. Those 8 half-moon abilities Bibi Dong released were all under her direct control. In that golden mental shock, her connection to the 8 half-moons relaxed for a moment, and the glittering jade light also dulled. And in that moment, Tang San's left leg kicked. Countless only 1 chi wide dark red light blades instantly burst from his left leg, spreading out with ear-piercing sounds. None of these red light blades was large, far from comparing to even the now dulled half-moons. But their quantity was too large. Moreover, each one brimmed with cold killing intent. As soon as they burst out, they completely swallowed those 8 half-moons, issuing a string of violent collisions. Bibi Dong's control was admittedly meticulous, almost controlling each moon blade, but Tang San's counterattack was even more severe. First conducting a large-scale mental shock through the sea god trident, then again launching the evil spirit orca left leg bone ability orca raking teeth cut as an area attack. No matter how you control it, what can you manage against my counterattack? As a control-type spirit master, he only too clearly understood how to deal with the opponent's control. Of course, Tang San made this choice by exploiting Bibi Dong's current weakness. Otherwise, if BB Dong's soul wasn't injured, such a wide area mental shock basically wouldn't affect her. Noise like rolling thunder suddenly echoed from the top of the walls. Tang San and BB Dong flew backward practically simultaneously with muffled grunts. BB Dong's spirit power really was much stronger than Tang San. Even though Tang San already held a clear advantage in skill and mental suppression, he still couldn't come out on top in this kind of confrontation. Of course, this was equally within Tang San's expectations. This was precisely the result he was looking for. Any ability would have to be mentally controlled when used, and while BB Dong admittedly did her best to spare her damaged mental strength, it was still necessary for her to use it in a situation where both sides' abilities clashed. Otherwise, the uncontrolled spirit ability would very easily cause backlash. Tang San's choice to collide head-on was to collapse BB Dong's mental strength as soon as possible. As long as she was unable to continue, Tang San would immediately injure her severely with mental attacks. Grandmaster stood quietly watching not far away, his eyes still blood red, but in the end he didn't get involved. This was admittedly because his strength was far from enough, but even more importantly was his bleeding heart. In all his life he had only loved two women, and the first was BB Dong. Only he and Lu Erlong knew that in the depths of his heart, the one he once loved the most was still this poisonous woman in front of him now. Back then they were both so young. Grandmaster even now remembered how pure and cute BB Dong once was, like a drop of the purest spring water, permeating his heart. When everyone disdained him for his variant spirit and inability to cultivate, it was she who warmed him with her heart. Grandmaster later chose to walk the route of pure research, and it was also she who then suggested coming out, once again giving Grandmaster the power to pull himself together. But it was also she who ruthlessly left when their feelings were deepest, returning to Spirit Hall and severing all relations with Grandmaster. She had told him cold as ice that she was Spirit Hall's holy maiden, and couldn't possibly be with him. At that time Grandmaster had once even expressed his willingness to join Spirit Hall to be together with her, but she had disdainfully told him that Spirit Hall didn't need trash. Grandmaster had left with a wounded heart, until he met Lu Erlong in Flender. Grandmaster's entire life was a tragedy. First the malignant spirit variation, then given a huge emotional setback, and when he finally found true love in Lu Erlong, he had discovered she was his little sister. It was only once he got Tang San as a disciple that this tragedy came to an end. This was also an important reason why Grandmaster threw all his effort into Tang San. He had placed far too high hopes on Tang San. When he now saw the seemingly insane BB Dong, he was completely unable to reconcile her present image with that fresh and pure figure in his heart. A few decades had gone by, but he had never understood why she severed all relations like that in the past. When he learned the news of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan's annihilation, the pain Grandmaster felt had almost destroyed him. Only now when he asked BB Dong why, did BB Dong's answer relieve him from those feelings. Just at this moment, silhouettes rose from outside Jolin Pass like a heavy black cloud. They scaled the walls in practically an instant, followed by a rainstorm of sonorous cracks. Ear-piercing whistling sounds rolled into the city like a hurricane. The Tang army had finally mobilized. The battle below the walls had already entered a white-hot state. Tang San breaking the four great gates, plus the loss of the moat's protection, the entire battlefield had turned one-sided. There basically wasn't enough long-distance firepower on the walls to block them, and the battle had directly turned into a melee. The tumult at the gates was constantly reaping lives. Even if the Spirit Empire's hearts were uneasy, they still knew that if the Heaven Do Imperial army broke into Jolin Pass, then they would be utterly destroyed. The officers from those kingdoms and duchies were even more clear the Heaven Do Empire would never pardon them for betraying their nation. All they could do was fight for their lives, keeping the enemy outside Jolin Pass. Even though the four gates weren't small, the troop numbers were after all too large. Especially the heavy troops squeezing inside made the entrance exceptionally narrow. The walls were still built to be in the way, and the Spirit Empire's Angel Legion and Sacred Dragon Legion had already thrown their numbers into the fight. More than 10,000 Spirit Masters screened the Spirit Empire troops, constantly unloading all kinds of spirit abilities outside the gates, sometimes even disregarding friend or foe. Even though the Heaven Do Empire's Spirit Masters also joined in, the battle at the gates of Jolin Pass was already deadlocked. It was in such circumstances that the Tang army appeared. The first volley of crossbow bolts was launched directly at the inner gates of Jolin Pass, not only targeting the Spirit Empire's Spirit Masters, but at the same time also those soldiers defending the gates. The attack power of 160,000 crossbow bolts simultaneously erupting could only be described as frightening. After those godly Juga crossbows launched their deadly bolts, the entire Jolin Pass instantly erupted in a bloody mist that formed into a cloud. The Imperial soldiers guarding the gates as well as the Spirit Masters in the first line instantly fell like cut wheat, forming a wide open space. The Heaven Do Imperial army wouldn't let such a chance slip by, and immediately surged through the four gates like a tidal wave. Flying Spirit Sages on me, exterminate those bastards in the air. A strong voice suddenly echoed, and approximately 70 or 80 figures instantly soared up from the Angel Legion formation. In fact, there were now close to 100 Spirit Sages and Spirit Douluo tying up Tang San and the others on the walls. That they could now produce another 70 or 80 flying type Spirit Sages showed the profound depth of Spirit Hall. At the same moment, large amounts of powerful spirit abilities suddenly erupted from the hands of the Angel Legion Spirit Masters, and the Heaven Do Empire soldiers that had just rushed into the walls were forcefully checked. The Angel Legion and Sacred Dragon Legion finally set foot on the battlefield. Power attack type and agility attack types in front, defense types on the sides, support types in the back, swiftly and brutally plugging up the four gaps. And the Heaven Do Empire's first wave also suffered disastrous loss. The Angel Legion was even more powerful than they had anticipated. Fortunately, the Heaven Do Empire's Spirit Masters had also joined in the battle, and under the lead of the Seven Treasure Blaze Tar School and the Tang Sect disciples, the Spirit Masters stabilized the situation. Only their numbers were after all far too few compared to the opponents, and their individual strength was also inferior. In these circumstances, they could only block the Angel and Sacred Dragon Legions from charging outside the walls, but they had absolutely no way inside. Right now they had to depend on the Tang army's aerial support, or hope for Tang San and the others' overwhelming victory on top of the walls. Otherwise, it would still be difficult to enter Jolin Pass. The Tang army's second volley was still being prepared, but the Angel Legion's 70 or 80 flying type Spirit Masters were already using their spirit avatars as they soared up, in order to directly let them slaughter their way into the Tang army's formation. Even though their numbers was less than 1% of the Tang army, they were like tigers in a flock of sheep. In the end, the Tang army wasn't made up of Spirit Masters, and the godly Juga crossbows couldn't possibly stop Spirit Sage level Spirit Masters. If the Tang army was routed, the battle situation would very possibly be instantly reversed. After all, even though Tang San was overwhelming BB Dong, he absolutely wouldn't be able to finish her quickly. Xiao Wu, Tang San held the Sea God Trident crosswise, beaten backwards as he blocked BB Dong's continuous spider blade attacks. But he also used an Augur Evil Spirit Axe to leave a wound on BB Dong. At the same time, he shouted loudly. Even if he was fighting BB Dong, he paid equal attention to the entire battlefield, and he was already prepared for something like this. The Heaven Do Empire had planned thoroughly for this main attack, spending all their effort on capitalizing on BB Dong's injuries. Xiao Wu and Tang San were of one mind, and she naturally understood his meaning. She wasn't facing any powerful enemy, and was just fighting in the middle of the enemy. She now immediately teleported away from the battle, leaping up above the walls. Her tender body spun in the air, a speck of red light instantly launching from her right hand, flying like a shooting star towards the center of those rank 70 to 80 flying type Spirit Hall Spirit Sages. At the same time as that red light left Xiao Wu's hand, Tang San's pulse suddenly accelerated. BB Dong for the first time saw a hot luster in Tang San's eyes, always so calm and collected. What was that red light that could actually make him change like this? BB Dong's heart tightened almost instantly, urgently shouting, "Block that red thing, hurry!" Tang San also became aware that he had made a mistake, but even with his steady nature couldn't calm his surging heart right now. He had waited for far too long for this moment, not only the more than 20 years he had lived in this world, but even more than 20 years in his last life. Yes, that speck of red light Xiao Wu flying from Xiao Wu's hands was what Tang San had spent almost all his effort on researching in his last life. The Buddha Fury Tang Lotus. Even though he hadn't personally built this Buddha Fury Tang Lotus in this world, the design of every single petal was the crystallization of several decades of his heart's blood. To finally see the might of one of the Tang Sect's most powerful mechanical hidden weapons, the masterpiece of all his efforts in his last life. How could he not be excited? The two main styles of Tang Sect hidden weapons, mechanical and skill use, both had different characteristics once they reached the ultimate peak. The feature of peak mechanical hidden weapons was to let even someone who had never used or even seen hidden weapons before use it to exterminate apex powers, and the characteristic of skill use hidden weapons was to turn the complex into simplicity, giving the plainest and unornamented attacks the most potent effects. Just like the Yama's invitation Tang San once used, wasn't that just a simple poison needle? But with his special skill and technique, the Yama's invitation could give extremely astonishing results. On the way back from the Clear Sky School, Tang San had given the few hidden weapons divine craftsman Lu Gao made to Xiaowu for her protection, and at this moment, Xiaowu used the first Buddha Fury Tang Lotus. That red light was its core, glittering like a ruby. The Buddha Fury Tang Lotus flew in a very simple trajectory. When Bibi Dong shouted, those spirit sages in the air couldn't help pausing distractedly, failing to understand what she meant. The Buddha Fury Tang Lotus wasn't large, and also didn't produce any spirit power waves. The light it spread wasn't intense either, it just looked like a small lotus. There was nothing to draw the attention of these formidable spirit masters. And at this time, Hulina, who Tang San previously threw aside, violently threw herself from the walls, chasing after the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus. She was after all quite powerful, and her speed instantly surpassed that of the lotus. But just then, Hulina suddenly went rigid. In mid-dash she was tightly bound by solid blue silver emperor, and before she could react she was already pulled back, falling onto the walls. It was Tang San's seemingly inconsequential, but frequently ingenious second spirit ability, Parasite. Strangely, Bibi Dong watched Tang San pull Hulina back without launching any attacks. She only gasped for breath, her forehead covered with a fine sheen of cold sweat. Each time she blocked Tang San's constant frontal attacks, her mental strength was always implicated. By now she had a splitting headache, and if she wasn't forcing herself to endure, she might have already collapsed. Only, this wasn't the reason she didn't take advantage of the situation to attack Tang San. The reason why she didn't was more because of Hulina. She shouted for someone to block the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus, but she absolutely didn't want this person to be Hulina. At this moment, that speck of red light had already reached the Angel Legion Spirit Sages, and suddenly sank, falling downwards. By now the Angel Legion Spirit Sages had naturally also discovered it. These Spirit Sages were all Spirit Hall's elite, and even if they weren't all geniuses, after years of being immersed in cold spirit abilities they still had some experience. Seeing the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus come flying, hearing Bibi Dong's warning, they naturally understood that this tiny thing absolutely wasn't as innocuous as it looked. One control-type spirit master among them promptly sent out an extremely gentle spirit power, enveloping the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus like a cover. He believed that the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus needed to hit something to show its power, and blocking it with this kind of gentle force was the best choice. The Buddha Fury Tang Lotus was famed for its power, but that didn't mean it had no flaws. But if Tang San was added to the equation, then it had practically no faults. First, Tang San's eyes flashed with golden light. A powerful presence instantly burst forth, making even Bibi Dong just in front of him feel a bit choked, her main body and clone simultaneously slowing down. The next moment, the same moment that control-type spirit sage wanted to throw away the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus, the whisper-bod red color in its core suddenly expanded. Ding! The sound of the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus exploding was bizarre, sharp and melodious, like the sound of cold and jade clashing. But this brittle sound still became the focus of everyone present. At the same time as this sound echoed, a golden red tornado quietly spread out. In the air, after altogether 76 Angel Legion flying type spirit sages were swept up in that tornado, they floated quietly in the air, but without making any movements. In fact, these spirit sages had now already released their strongest spirit form spirit avatars. Puff! There was no way to know which spirit sage was the first to make this sound. A red blood mist almost instantly spread through the air, engulfing those 76 bodies. They fell all at the same time, like ragdolls spewing blood from every part of their bodies. The Tang army in the sky was stupefied. The Angel Legion and Sacred Dragon Legion on the ground was stupefied. Bibi Dong and Hulina were stupefied. Xiaowu, who had thrown the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus, was also stupefied. Across the vast battlefield, every person who saw the scene in the air was stupefied. Even Tang San himself hadn't anticipated the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus would actually be this frightening. By his expectations, while the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus was effective enough to at least break open the defenses of these spirit sages, if the Tang Sect's hidden weapons had one characteristic, then it was to ignore or break defenses. Whether the torrential pear blossom needle or the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus, as well as the three great skill use type hidden weapons, they all had such features. Consequently, Tang San's plan was to have the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus delay those 76 spirit sages, breaking the spirit avatar defenses, breaking their 7th spirit ability. The Tang army above was already starting to ready the second volley godly Juga crossbow, and even though these spirit sages were powerful, if their spirit avatars were broken, their defenses would be reduced to a minimum and the Tang army's next volley could be effective against them. But the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus basically didn't even need Tang San's follow-up plan. Those 76 spirit sages were already dealt with. In fact, that was 76 spirit sages. 76 spirit sages in spirit avatar form. A fairly talented spirit master cultivating normally would need at least 30 years to reach the spirit sage level, and the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus had in only an instant exterminated these Angel Legion first-rate powers. Not only did it kill them, the shock of its formidable power was enough to give another strong blow to the spirit empire's morale. Even Bibi Dong couldn't help blankly uttering a question. What was that? Tang San drew a deep breath, the first to return to his senses. He answered Bibi Dong's question. Tang Sect hidden weapon, Buddha Fury Tang Lotus. At the same time as his words fell, he once again lunged towards Bibi Dong. In the air, the second round of sonorous cracks reverberated. This time, the Tang army's targets were those front Angel and Sacred Dragon Legion spirit masters. Long live King Lanhao. Kill. Having already rushed over to not far outside the walls, as Heaven Do Emperor Shuibang saw the scene of 76 spirit sages falling from the air, he couldn't help feeling his blood boil, and he shouted loudly. Long live was only used for the Emperor. One. But at this moment he personally cheered for Tang San, not only to boost morale, but at the same time also raising Tang San's status in the Heaven Do Empire to a new height. The Heaven Do Imperial Army loudly shouted long live King Lanhao, launching a frantic assault. The siege equipment that hadn't appeared in front of the army so far was now brought up from the rear. Even though there were powers fighting hand to hand on top of the Jelling Pass walls, there would inevitably be gaps in places. Under Marshal Ji Long's commands, the Heaven Do Imperial Army launched a three-directional assault on Jelling Pass Spirit Empire defenders. The frantic assault on the ground and the Tang army attacking with godly Juga crossbows from the air made the solid defense within Jelling Pass start to show gaps. Large numbers of low-level Angel Legion spirit masters were destroyed from the godly Juga crossbow bolts falling from the sky. The godly Juga crossbow was firing from the sky. From the front came the attack of the Heaven Do Empire spirit masters and army, and the Angel Legion and Sacred Dragon Legion spirit master numbers was falling steeply. The Tang army didn't linger. After the enemy stabilized their formation, they moved over in front of the archer troops, and after shooting their final volley of crossbow bolts, they moved over the walls, quickly withdrawing. Their mission was already complete, and the duration of the swift flight mushroom sausage was also about to expire. In 3 volleys, their attack power had perfectly poured down onto the Spirit Empire army, killing at least 20,000 of the Angel and Sacred Dragon Spirit Master legions as well as defending soldiers, with even more uncountable wounded. Even the heavy troops' heavy armor couldn't possibly stop the godly Juga crossbows' iron essence arrowheads. 1. Long live. The salute to the Emperor is 10,000 years, wishing the Emperor long life. When people previously cheered for Tang San, they used 1,000 years.